Hi, Alexa. Welcome back. Today, we're going to explore how to use some common phrases in English like how to, most of, and a lot of. These are helpful for everyday conversations. Also, a quick reminder to our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Thanks, Alex. Yes, these phrases are used all the time. They might seem small, but they can change the way we communicate. Let's dive into how to use them with examples.
Let's start with how to. We use how to when giving instructions or explaining a process. For example, this is how to make coffee, or can you show me how to fix this? It helps when you want to explain a method or ask for steps in a process.
Exactly. We also use how to in questions. Like, do you know how to start the car? It's commonly used when someone needs help or advice. When you combine it with a verb, it becomes a simple way to explain or ask about tasks or skills.
Now, let's talk about most of. It's used to refer to the majority of something. For example, most of the students finished the exam early, or most of the people at the party were dancing. It emphasizes that something applies to the larger part of a group.
Right, you can also say, most of the food was delicious, or most of the time. I go for a walk in the morning. It's a helpful phrase when you're talking about something that applies to many or a large portion of a group.
Next is a lot of. We use this phrase to express a large quantity or number. For instance, there are a lot of books on the table, or she has a lot of friends. It works for both countable and uncountable nouns and shows there is a large amount of something.
Yes, and a lot of is very flexible. You can say, there's a lot of water in the bottle, or I've got a lot of homework to finish. It's a great phrase for informal conversations when you want to describe a large number or amount of something.
Another useful word is few. It's the opposite of a lot of. We use few when talking about a small number of things. For example, there are only a few cookies left, or I have a few questions. It shows that the quantity is small but not zero.
And don't forget, when you add a before few, like in a few, it sounds more positive. For instance, I have a few good friends feels better than saying I have few good friends. It's a small but important difference when talking about amounts.
Let's look at some. This word is great for talking about an indefinite number or amount. For example, I have some time this afternoon, or can you give me some advice? It doesn't specify exactly how much, but it implies that there is enough or more than zero.
Yes, some is very useful. You can also say, would you like some coffee? It works in offers and requests too. It's a polite way to ask for or give something without being specific about the quantity.
Another helpful word is many. We use it to talk about large numbers, especially with countable nouns. For example, there are many people at the concert, or how many apples do you need? It's more formal than a lot of, but works similarly.
That's true. You could say, I have many books to read, or many students are excited about the trip. It's great when you want to emphasize that there are numerous items or people in a group.
Let's now discuss several. It's used when referring to more than a few, but not a large number. For example, I've watched several movies this week, or there were several chairs available. It's less than many, but more than a few.
Exactly. Several gives you an idea that the amount is more than just a couple, but not overwhelming. For example, I have several ideas for the project. It's a handy word to use when the quantity is somewhere in between.
Another important word is each. We use each when talking about individuals in a group. For example, each student received a book, or each day is a new chance to learn. It focuses on individuals within a larger group.
Yes, and you can also say each of us has a role to play, or each person has their own opinion. It's a useful word when you want to emphasize that everyone in a group is being considered separately.
Now, let's talk about every. It's similar to each, but it focuses on the whole group as a unit. For example, every student must take the test, or every house in this area has a garden. It shows that something applies to all the members of a group.
That's right. You could also say, every morning I go for a run, or every one of the cookies was delicious. It's a word that helps describe a group as a whole, unlike each, which looks at individuals in the group.
Another word to mention is any. It's useful when you're talking about an unspecified choice. For instance, do you have any questions? Or you can take any seat you like. It works well when there are multiple options or when you're not being specific.
Another word to mention is any. It's useful when you're talking about an unspecified choice. For instance, do you have any questions? Or you can take any seat you like. It works well when there are multiple options or when you're not being specific.
Finally, we have all. This is used when referring to the whole or entire amount of something. For example, all the students passed the exam, or I spent all day studying. It's a strong word to show that something includes everything or everyone.
Absolutely. You can also say, all of us agree on the plan, or she ate all of the cookies. It's perfect when you want to talk about something that includes everyone or the complete amount.
These are all great phrases to help make your English conversation smoother and clearer. Using words like how to, most of, and a lot of makes communication easier. They are small, but they have a big impact.
Exactly. Understanding how to use these words will improve both your speaking and writing. Keep practicing, and you'll find it gets easier to use them naturally. And remember, keep listening to podcasts like this for more helpful tips.
Let's continue with known. This is used when there's nothing or no one in a group. For example, none of the students were late or none of the cookies are left. It shows the complete absence of something or someone in a group.
Yes, none is really clear and direct. You can also say none of us knew the answer or none of the books were interesting. It's great for expressing that not a single person or thing is included.
Let's look at both now. It's used to refer to two things or people together. For example, both of my parents are teachers or both cats are sleeping. It shows that something applies to two specific items or individuals.
Exactly, and both can also make comparisons. Both of these books are good, but I prefer this one. It's a simple way to talk about two items or people at the same time, focusing on both equally.
Another useful word is either. It's used when talking about one of two options. For example, you can take either the blue or red pen, or either route will get you there. It's a word for giving someone a choice between two things.
Right, and you can also say, I don't mind either option, or you can choose either day to meet. It's a flexible word for when you're okay with either one of two options, not just one specific choice.
Now let's talk about neither. It's used when none of the two options are chosen or true. For example, neither of the answers is correct or neither dress fits me. It shows that both choices are not suitable or correct.
Yes, and you can say neither of us wants to go or I like neither option. It's a good way to express that out of two options, none of them work for you. It's the opposite of either.
Let's discuss all of. We use this to emphasize the whole of a group or collection. For instance, all of the students passed the exam or all of the books are on the shelf. It highlights the entire group without exceptions.
Absolutely. All of us went to the party or all of the flowers are blooming are other examples. It's a great way to talk about a group as a complete unit, and it's useful when you want to include everything or everyone.
Another helpful phrase is a bit of. We use this when talking about a small amount of something, especially uncountable nouns. For example, can you give me a bit of advice? Or I need a bit of sugar. It's good for describing a small portion.
Exactly. A bit of works well when you don't need much. For instance, I need a bit of time or I have a bit of work to do. It's a casual way to ask for or describe a small amount of something.
Let's talk about plenty of. It's used when there is more than enough of something. For example, there's plenty of food at the party, or we have plenty of time to finish. It's a positive way to show that there's more than what's needed.
Yes, plenty of is great for showing abundance. You could say, there's plenty of room for everyone, or we have plenty of water for the hike. It's perfect when you want to assure someone that there's more than enough of something.
Another phrase is the majority of. This is used when most but not all of something is included. For example, the majority of the students passed the exam, or the majority of the people agreed. It's a more formal way to say most of.
Exactly. You can also say the majority of the team is ready, or the majority of the class understood the lesson. It's great for professional or academic contexts when you want to talk about the larger part of a group.
Now let's look at none of. We use this phrase when talking about zero of something in a group. For instance, none of the books were interesting, or none of the students knew the answer. It's used to emphasize that nothing in a group applies.
That's right. You can also say none of the food was left after the party, or none of the plans worked out. It's a straightforward way to say that not a single option or item in a group is true or correct.
Finally, let's look at a couple of. This phrase is used to talk about two or a few items. For example, I have a couple of questions, or we'll leave in a couple of minutes. It's a casual way to refer to two or a small number of things.
Exactly. You can also say, I met a couple of friends for lunch, or a couple of tasks are still left to do. It's a handy phrase to describe a small number, usually around two but sometimes slightly more, in an informal way. I want to tell you a story about a sweet and adorable little fox named Lily who lived deep in a beautiful, enchanted forest. The forest was full of tall trees, colorful flowers, and sparkling streams. Lily was known for her bright orange fur and her playful, curious nature. Every day she would explore the woods, playing with butterflies and chasing leaves as they swirled in the wind. Her heart was pure, and everyone in the forest adored her for her kindness and gentle spirit. One sunny afternoon, Lily wandered further into the forest than ever before. She discovered a hidden meadow surrounded by tall, ancient trees. In the center of the meadow was a beautiful, glowing pond. The water sparkled like diamonds under the sunlight, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers. Lily felt an overwhelming sense of peace and happiness as she approached the pond. She knew she had found a special place, one that felt magical and safe. As Lily sat by the pond, she noticed a small, lost bird sitting on a rock, looking sad and confused. The bird was a tiny, delicate creature with bright yellow feathers, but it looked scared and tired. Lily's heart filled with compassion, and she softly approached the bird. "Are you lost, little one?" she asked. The bird chirped softly, explaining that it had gotten separated from its family. Lily knew she had to help and promised to guide the bird back home. Together, they set off through the forest, with Lily leading the way. Along their journey, they met many other friendly animals who offered to help. A wise old owl pointed them in the right direction, and a kind deer offered to carry the bird for a while so it could rest. As they traveled, Lily and the bird became great friends, sharing stories and laughing together. The forest, with its towering trees and gentle breeze, felt alive and welcoming as they made their way. Finally, after a long but joyful journey, they reached the bird's home at the top of a large oak tree. The bird's family was overjoyed to see their little one safe and sound. They thanked Lily for her bravery and kindness. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the forest, Lily felt happy and proud. She knew she had made a difference, not just for the bird but for everyone she had met along the way. And from that day on, Lily always returned to the magical meadow, where new adventures and friendships awaited her. And so, Lily returned to her enchanted meadow often, her heart filled with the warmth of the friendships she had made. The forest, with its endless wonders and gentle creatures, always had new surprises waiting for her. But no matter what adventures lay ahead, Lily knew that kindness, courage, and the joy of helping others were the greatest treasures she could ever find. And with that, her story continues, filled with love, laughter, and the magic of the forest.